You are watching Tech Confessions, created by Amy Lewis and brought to you by VMware.
Hi, Brad. Welcome to Tech Confessions.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
So, of course, we got to get a confession out of you. Did you ever think when you grew up you would have a job sort of managing this sort of community, this wild and woolly community we've got with the VMUG organization?
You know, I can't say that I did, but I have been a part of communities throughout my whole career. So it is something, you know, probably 10, 15 years ago, I was like, you know, this is so neat. It's helped my career in so many different ways. And now that it is my career, it is kind of, it's almost like, oh, pinch me. I can't believe this is happening.
So what got you started? What was your involvement with communities in general before you landed in this spot?
Well, I started out in the IT career. I sold some equipment. I sold networks to corporation, those kind of things. And I actually did some computer training as well, selling computer training, not actually doing it. That led to a job, one of my customers, as on the help desk. And then that led into the telecom industry. So I was, you know, managing the phones. And back then, voice and data, you know, two separate houses. Two separate houses there. And as technology started evolving and things, I realized, you know, voice and data is coming together, and voice wasn't going to win that battle. The whole tip and ring was going away, and it was all going IP. And so that's when I started into the, you know, managing the help desk, managing the infrastructure, those kind of things. Probably one of my more fun things that I've done was with a company that focuses on the insurance industry. And so we had multiple data centers, and we would do DR testing and those kind of things. And we were running, of course, VMware vSphere, and we were running SRM, and we had a recovery point appliance. And being able to do that true DR test, replicating from one site to another, it was amazing we were able to do it, and I was so excited. And people were like, Brad, you need to tell that story. And so that kind of got me started into, you know, telling the story, giving back to the community, those kind of things. And I also was part of the Nortel Networks User Association as well. And so that kind of got me on the association management side, if you will.
Yeah.
I was the president of that organization, and so met a lot of nice people, and we kind of stayed in touch. And when the VMUG job came open, I'm like, absolutely, sign me up. So it all worked out.
So what are some of the changes you've seen in terms of user groups over the years, with especially with the advent of social media? I mean, it was sort of around when things were started, but I've always thought that was an interesting interplay between in-person user group experience and a virtual user group experience. So what has been some of the surprise and the revelations and the innovations you've seen as this journey's gone on?
Yeah, that's something that we really track. I mean, our members they want to consume content differently.
Yeah.
We're seeing a rise in membership. We're seeing a rise in virtual participation. And what we want to do as a user community, you know, our mission is to maximize their VMware and partner investment. So if we can make those connections, which we do, obviously, and that can be either in person or online, but with social media, now it's going beyond that. So that connection might be made, but then that conversation is happening, say, on Twitter.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that we are still part of that conversation, but let it happen wherever it needs to happen. Many of our leaders and our members, they have Slack channels, they have Twitter, they have, you know, a million different ways to communicate, and that's great. So we just want to make sure we facilitate that communication. But one challenge is, how do we make sure we know about all the information that's out there so we can then share it appropriately to the people that are interested in it? So sometimes you kind of get out on those other channels, and it becomes hard to know what's out there and direct people in the right place, but our members do a great job of pointing out people in the right direction, where they need to go, how they need to solve things. So a lot of times you can just sit back and let the community do community, and they do a great job of it. So sometimes it's just get out of the way.
I love it. I love it. So what do you think? What do you think is the next thing coming in community? What do you see? Is there a killer app? Is there a new thing that we do at events, or is community what it's always been, and we just, like you said, get out of the way?
I think the next thing, and we see it here at Dell Technologies World, you know, there's so many different partners and there's so many different vendors, and VMware obviously takes a huge ecosystem, and it requires a bunch of other people outside of just VMware. So it's, how can we as an IT community work better together and make our systems perform better, do better things? And so that's VMware getting along with Dell, and VMware getting along with HP and everybody else, and VMware has a great relationship with all of their partners, and their partner ecosystem is so huge. So how can we take that as a community and be able to kind of bridge gaps between, oh, I need to get this information from VMUG, but I
Right.
need to get that information from Converge User Group and this information from a VMon group or whatever
I
the
love
case
it.
may
So
be.
the crossover between the user groups.
Right, and they all have their own, specific, purpose.
Right.
And obviously we're the VMware User Group, so we're going to be tightly aligned with VMware and those kind of things. But realistically, our members use other products, and if it doesn't fit, hey, we still want to make that connection so they know they can hear from somebody who's actually using whatever technology they need to use.
Oh, I love it. So what would you say to somebody who's heard about VMUG or the user groups and has thought, oh, how do I, it's a little intimidating, or they're not sure what they'll get out of it. Like, what do you tell them how to get started, how to just, more than just say, just come on out and join us, but what else can you tell them? What's to lower that anxiety and get them involved?
Well, obviously the first step is join, so you go to vmug.com and join, and membership is free, so this is low cost of entry.
That's a great, yeah.
And but the best thing to do is get plugged in on a local community. So when you're in the sign-up process, you can say, oh, I'm Brad and I live in Nashville, and then you'll start to get customized content saying, hey, there's a VBeers coming up in Nashville, you need to attend that. So my recommendation would be to get involved locally, start putting names and faces together, and it might be a group of 10 people that are meeting. That's okay. And then you can really start to see it explode. And before too long, that community has then reached out globally, and you're talking to people in Australia or Tokyo or wherever, but you still have that home base that you can get face-to-face with people and talk tech.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Brad.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
And when you're ready to make your tech confession, join us at techconfessionstheshow.com.